Welcome back at All Counts family. Hope you guys are enjoying your day and having a great time. We have a phenomenal guest today, a wonderful man in person, Coach Jerome Pooh Allen. How you doing, man?
How you doing, Coach? Thanks for having me.
No, man, I'm glad to have you, man. How's life treating you?
And you're hard pressed to catch me complaining. I have no complaints. All is well. All is well. You?
Man, I'm great, man. I count my blessings. I take them one day at a time, and I try to stay in my lane. That's the best I can do it.
Last time I checked, you only get one day at a time anyway. So, right?
You sure right about that. Now, Coach, growing up in Philly, talk to me about that.
Oh, it's funny. It was like yesterday this morning I was talking to my wife. This week has been two shootings at a bus stop. 2 days ago, a young man got hit over 20 times. A 71-year-old lady that was sitting on a bus got shot in the head. All of this happened right outside of a bus as a group of people was about to walk onto the bus. And then last night, 8 people got shot at a bus stop in Philly. So I don't know if it was connected or retaliation or what have you, but I chose to kind of just share that real quick, which is Philly is hurting right now. You know what I'm saying? I come from the demographic that's really kind of perpetuating all of that stuff. So growing up there to be able to and it wasn't quite this bad when I was growing up, but to be able to have to be forced to kind of navigate that space as a youngster nowadays with all the clout chasing and social media stuff and just the things that's just tearing at the seams of everything that parents and grandparents and the city is trying to mend together. It's tough. So I'm just grateful that God kind of put me in a position to be able to see it from a view that allowed me to be on the periphery, but also allowed me to be in that same space at the same time, because I don't forget. I could never forget where I came from, but I'm still there, and for lack of a better way of saying it.
Coach, with all the resources on the surface in the city, we have professional teams, football, basketball, baseball teams, all the corporations, companies. Why does a city like that struggle so much in inner city areas?
Yes, it's crazy. I don't have all the answers, right? I mean, I could directly point to just a lack of a presence of God in all that we do as human beings, as we interact with one another. But to just kind of more so not dummy it down, but just get down to the smallest element of it is that our city is hurting. Just all the metropolitan areas. It's not like Philly is on an island all by itself, but the lack of resources. What's really taking over the bodies of our kids today? From a social media standpoint, technology is changing right before our eyes. We're all public figures, whether we like it or not, and we're connected, but we're distant at the same time. And so I think there are a number of people who feel the same way I feel in the city of Philadelphia. I think there are a number of people, or there are a number of resources out there, but something's missing. And just trying to be, not point out the obvious. I'm trying to be solution based in how I kind of look at things, but without having the exact answer. You always just at least my heart always draws me to that space, because again, I come from there. I know what the city has done for me and my family. Without Philadelphia, I wouldn't be here in front of you today. So I just wish that more people, especially men of color, right, that are seasoned enough, um, that will be transparent, with not only our youth of today, but just transparent in general, how we talk to one another and share our feelings and problems and issues. And if more people had a disposition of service and empathy and compassion, um, then we could all kind of, just come together and just figure out how we could just, touch this generation and allow them to be, productive citizens of the world, as opposed to just, taking lives like it means nothing.
Mm. That's powerful, Coach. Coach, growing up with 18 people in your household, again, sleeping with your sister to about, same bed to about, 14, 15. When did you notice something was different or something was better? When did you see better, so to speak?
I think we talked a little bit about it earlier. Like I can't say in the moment when I was that young that I had the, whether it be self-awareness or just overall awareness to understand different spaces and how to navigate different opportunities. But we had, when we were talking and we mentioned Dan Leibovitz, like I had a chance by sheer coincidence to go to a private school that was on the main line, right on the outskirts of Philadelphia for high school. And I think that, that exposure in itself just, it just opened my eyes, to so much. And again, like having to take public transportation to go to the school, or to drive through the city, and then after school was over, to have to go back to, my sense of normalcy, somewhere in between, those days or that route. I just felt like, there was more to life than what I was seeing prior to me having the chance to go to the private high school that I went to. And I think that just kind of like triggered everything. And my circles got a little different. And, God sent the right people in my life at the right time to tell me the right things when I needed to hear it. And then, I never would imagine that, that decision would have ended up changing the entire trajectory of my family and my wife and my 4 kids and my mother and my sister and my cousins, and my niece. It's just, the story is just so crazy and scary because it almost didn't happen. But I just think having a chance to go to Episcopal Academy after leaving, the public school system in Philadelphia, it just changed, so much for us.
And Coach, you were one of the top players in the country at your position. Most guys, when they come from humble beginnings, they say, "Man, I can't wait to get out to be better, do better. I'm gonna do this, do that." You chose to stay home. Why did you make that decision?
I think it was strictly because of school, right? And again, we are same classmates, if I'm not mistaken, class of '91, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just look a lot younger than me. I need to start drinking some of the water you drinking, right? Like the school, Penn was situated really roughly 23 minutes away from the house I grew up in.
Wow.
But that's that 23 minutes is like night and day.
Yes.
And so having a chance to go to school there, just allowed me to be planted, right there, and we all dreamed of playing at the top schools, the best schools, and I had some schools that offered scholarships, but again, it goes back to just the village that I was in at Episcopal Academy, and the people around me. They knew that what a degree from Ivy League school could do for me, even when I didn't. And again, I'm gonna keep saying his name, but Dan Leibovitz and his father, Mitchell, at the time was the CEO of Pep Boys.
Wow.
And they kind of just kept telling me like you went to Episcopal Academy to go to Penn, and and I immediately thought they was trying to say I wasn't good enough to play in the ACC or the
Mm.
Big East. But they knew what was going to be able to sustain me in life,
Yes.
and thank God I was um, humble enough or less stubborn at the
Yes.
time to allow myself to listen, to that advice, and then the rest is kind of history.
Man, to get a degree from Penn and the Wharton School, which is one of the best in the world, and going through that, um, I would imagine, though you're a very intelligent man, I would imagine that had to be hard, the rigors of the academic piece, but also being the best basketball player you can become. But on top of that, you guys, what 48 straight games and conference wins, three conference titles, and we're just rolling. How were you able to maintain all of that?
Well, Coach, I wish I could say that the appreciation that I have for learning now was the same as it was when I was in college, right? And um, I I was a decent student, um, but again, not fully being aware of Penn's rich history and the Big Five and all of those things when I first got to school there, it just it's like, all right, well, yeah, I got accounting. I got to take this accounting class, but I didn't dive into it the
Yes.
way, so at 51 now, like if I'm reading books, I'm trying to take master classes online. I'm just trying to, be truly committed to being a lifelong learner. Um, but Coach Dunphy at Penn, like he wasn't playing, and what I mean by that is that um, he stayed on top of us, and school was a challenge, and I only tended to kind of gravitate to the things that I liked, right? The things that were most challenging, either I tried to put on the back burner or take them later on um, later on in some of the later semesters at school. But it was just an unbelievable place, like the intellectual incubator that it is. Like, my fellow classmates just went on to do some phenomenal things in life, and we um, are impacted by, and I say we as in like today's race is impacted by some of the things that people that I was on campus with at the same time have gone on to do. So um,
Wow.
it was a challenge. I was the running joke on the team was I was the only senior still in study hall, but it was okay. I needed to be there, so it's like, all right, I'm gonna be ready at 7:30 though when they throw the ball up. I'm going to study hall tonight though.
I play with your teammate Matt Maloney in the CBA, which is, for those that don't know, is the Continental Basketball League, very similar to I would say the equivalent of the G League at the time. But Matt Maloney was a great guy, and obviously Ira Bowman, who you play with, talented guys in the Ivy League, man. That was high level, and you go on to get drafted, the 49th pick in the 1995 draft. Was that a relief, or was it a battlefield?
It was, the decision to go to Penn wasn't made because I thought that I was on that track to be drafted, right? It probably wasn't until like my junior year after we came back from Team USA and the Goodwill games that I was like, man, I got a chance. So all my senior year, I was kind of trying to lock in on just being the best basketball player I could possibly be. My girlfriend at the time in college, my senior year, she was pregnant. We were expecting twins, and so to get to draft night, um, I went and watched it by myself. Sat in an apartment
Mm.
and waited the the so it felt like 3 hours and 57 minutes, but it was 2 hours and 57 minutes, right?
Mm.
To kind of sat in the dark to hear my name called, and when when it was finally called, it was like it was a commercial break. Like your picture is up, best available and who's
Mm-hmm.
still remaining, and when they come back from the commercial break, they says, oh, and while we were going, the the Minnesota Timberwolves take Jerome Allen with the 49th pick, and I just really dropped to my knees
Wow.
and thank God. And then I got up and drove to my grandma's house because they was having a draft party there. And when I pulled up, everybody was there. I didn't want to be around anyone to watch the draft. Everybody was there. And so I'm getting out the car. My grandmother's upset, and my cousins are upset, and they saying they can't believe this person went ahead of me or that person went ahead of me. And I was just smiling because, like, the odds of me, anybody getting drafted,
Yes.
is like 0.00001%, right? And so I was just so thankful that in the moment, like, I had enough awareness to be grateful.
Yes.
And the first thing I did after hearing it was just thank him. And and then afterwards, when I got to the party, like, I ended up like consoling some of my family. I would say, Grandma, you only seen me play one time. Why are you upset? And it's like, you don't really know anything about the draft, but she saw other people in my family upset, so she got upset, and I just was smiling, put my arms around people, and then the party is over, and then reality kicks in, and that's when the competitive spirits is like, I'm at him, right?
Yes.
Okay, they took this guy, that guy, yeah, I'm at him, and so, but hearing my name called, like, every year to this day, I watch the draft, and I see the raw emotions of people when they hear their name. I get emotional,
Yes.
and they're not my children, like, they're not my sons,
Yes.
but just having that shared feeling, like, I know what it feels like, and so it's a lifelong. When I say lifelong dream, I dreamed that I could, but didn't really think it would happen, and then for it to happen, it's like, man. And if nothing else, they give me something to brag about today. I got a 14-year-old son. He always talking about, yeah, you can't guard me, you can't do this. I'm better than you. Roman, just know this. I'm in that fraternity. I'm one of 5,000. Just know that, okay? You can say what you want about me now. I'm old, I'm ugly, I'm bald, I have a big nose, I'm knock-kneeded, all of that. Thank God you look like your mom and all of that. Yeah, just know that. I'm one of those guys. So,
I like that, man. And as you know, I was 8 picks later, the 57 pick with the Hawks, and it just the thing. That's why I say, was it a blessing or was it a battlefield? Because you would take care of the part on the floor, you would do all that, you compete, but then the money comes, and then you have so many family members. How did that dynamic? Did it change you? Change family members? Change people around you? How did that go?
yes, that's a great question, right? So I drive a Subaru Outback now, right? And and my son, he hates the car, right? So, I'm now, mind you, I'm driving to Detroit Country Day School, right? It's a private school in Beverly Hills, Michigan, and I'm in the car line with other parents, and every time I pull up, he like, right? And so he's upset. My my youngest daughter, when I was picking her up when she was in high school, right, I was driving a Honda CRV, right? And she didn't like the car, all right? And so he said, Dad, it's funny, yesterday, his dad, you told me you was going to get a Tesla, right? And I just said to him, all right, I can't expect for him to understand, like, Roman, like, I done did, yeah, like, when you was younger and Pooh and T was young, like, Mom said you had a Range Rover, and you had, a buggy-eyed Benz, and you had, and this and that. And I just said that, like, when I was younger, I had no awareness about, like, investing in a depreciating asset, right? I was so caught up in just, trying to show others that, like, I made it or I had money. It's like a insecurity that comes with, like, reaching certain levels that we are unaware
Yes.
of, right? As professional athletes, that a lot of times others who may come from accessing and privilege are already privy to. I just had two students in my office, and I was trying to get them to open up their own Robinhood accounts on,
Yes.
and we was looking at the 5-year gains, and I'm telling them, like, listen, like, I told them I would drug my feet with buying the NVIDIA stock. Now it's up from 5 years to today. It's up over 2,000%. And then 4 months ago, when it was at $492, I was like, man, I'm cool. It's too high now. Now it's at $918 to this day. Like this is the last period right before I got on the podcast. And so to answer your question, I'm saying a whole lot of nothing, really, to just say that. Right, you think it's 19 that was living in a 5-bedroom house. I'm the first one to go to college in the house, right? My mom made $11,000 a year, right, cleaning hotel rooms. So, my first check was as a second round pick. It was 200 grand, right? After taxes, it was 128,000, right? I'm thinking I wasn't even aware. And again, I went to Wharton, right? I wasn't even aware that those tax things were coming my way. I didn't had it mapped out. I'm like, I'm gonna get $16,666 every check. That's over 32,000 a month. And they like, hold up, wait a minute, you might as well chop all that in half. I remember me and Kevin Garnett and Mark Davis and Marquise Braggs went to Circuit City, right? They not even open anymore. We went to Circuit City in Minnesota, and all of us bought big screen TVs because we lived in the same apartment complex. I wrote checks out for $3,200, right? And then my first check came. It was only $2,800 because they took the $4,800 out of my check that they gave us at the start of training camp. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm already behind the 8 ball, and so it was just a lot of things, especially when I was younger, like I wasn't prepared for financially in terms of the responsibility and like I got a giving heart. So like, like whatever my mom or my grandma needed, right? Like they were getting that. I'm gonna figure out whatever I need later. And is that a sign of nobility or a sign of irresponsibility, right? I'm somewhere in the middle of that. Like I can't take care of others till I take care of myself. And as I got older, and obviously I married a superstar who was all on it, and I gave her like a bunch of resistance because of like but it's my family. Like my aunt shared her food stamps with us. Like I can't like not tell them no and so that friction that caused in the marriage, why she just trying to say, look, we got to take care this right now so we'd be able to help others later, and it was all like it's all a part of just becoming the guy who could pull up in a Subaru Outback and say, man, I paid $44,000 for 5th grade. Like, you want to keep going to this school? Like, or you want me to go get a Tesla? Like, I'm cool in this CRV. I ain't worried about what they think about me, whatever. But I know what this education can do for you. This is the investment I'm making in you right now. One day you will understand it. So get in the back seat and put your seatbelt on.
That's a blessing, man. That's a real blessing. You had a phenomenal career. Then you decided to get in coaching in 2009 at your alma mater, Penn. How did Coach call you? Did Coach Dunphy call you? How did that work out? Or did you say, I want to get back into coaching?
So, long story short, I won't bore you with a long story. Look, I have been coaching like youth basketball since like 2000, right? And ironically, the first trip that a group of kids that we had, our first trip was to Detroit. We took a 9 and under, 11 and under, 13 under, 15 under, put 55 kids on a bus, took them to Detroit because my roommate in college, Sean Trice, went to Redford on the west side of Detroit. He was there working at the Northwest YMCA. I said, I'm gonna bring some kids out there, but I was still playing. But in the summertime, I would coach, right, on Saturday leagues, in the summertime, the kids. As we get to 2008, I'm pretty much done. But every summer, I have been coaching. So the first summer, we took them to Detroit. The next summer, we took kids to Italy to play, right? We took kids to Italy again the following summer, right? So we took about 36 kids to Italy over the summer. We got a whole program, reading the math, enrichment program on Saturday mornings in the summertime. I'm in it, not knowing that, like, this is really what I wanted to do in life. I just got addicted to kids. So by the time I really end up wrapping it up, I go back to school, and Fran Dunphy had went to Temple. Glenn Miller's now the coach at Penn, and he was like, "Hey, I got a volunteer spot open. Would you be interested in it?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm here on campus anyway. I'm finishing up. I got a semester left, and now I just get on staff, and obviously we start out 0-7. Steve Bilski decided to make a change, and he gave me the job in the interim, and I mean the rest kind of like speaks for itself. But I had fell in love with just like not so much the game, but just teaching and coaching and serving others and trying to fit it all together. Since we kind of started this program, we called it Hood Enriched, and I think that's really where it all started at.
And Cody, your style, and I'm asking you this question because I've been at different places, 2 universities in the state of Missouri, 1 in Tennessee, and I was at Cal Berkeley, a prestigious academic institution. Do you feel like the players at Penn, and whatever your style is, do you think like that mesh well?
That's a great question. Like, so to go to the end of it, right? One of my former players at Penn had worked for USA Basketball for the America Cup window that we just had, right? So he had said to me one day after practice last week, he's like, "Coach, you ain't got soft for me, right?" What I said was that I said, "Well, Dilla, I would like to think I'm a much better coach today than I was yesterday, right? And that I've evolved, I've learned, I have a little bit more self-awareness about people and human beings, and it's really about their experience and the one mistake that I made when I first got to Penn was that I thought everybody loved the game like I loved it, right? From a competitive standpoint, and that actually ended up hurting me more than it hurt them because I was stubborn, right, and adamant about certain things, and so being at Penn, and again, like I'm a Quaker, right? That's my school. Like no matter what gym we went in, they'd be like, it's Ivy League. I'm like, no, don't get it twisted. I'm from North Philly, right? And I carried that with pride. So to get back and to have a group of kids that the true essence of, and again, it's like if we were rolling, I wouldn't have got the opportunity.
Yeah.
So the beauty of it was that I get the opportunity for a reason, and I'm trying to inject my passion, right, and my competitive spirit. Even I remember the AD saying, I think the second year, we go to Duke, we play at Duke, at UCLA, at Kentucky, and he was just like, Jerome, I worry about the kids and getting beat by 4, and I'm like, this is all I know, like. Yeah. We beat Georgia, we beat Michigan, we beat Villanova, we won games in the tournament. This is the expectation. I'm walking in these locker rooms and say everything that any kid in this country, whether he the best, top 5, top 25, top 100, top 200, everything they say they want to accomplish, I did those things coming through these same doors. So they can't say, he can't. We can't get this kid because I was like, wait, what do you mean? Like, this is the best. I'm telling you about this product, not because somebody told me, because I lived it. Yes. I know what it could do for a young man's life. So to make a long story short, it was one of the biggest adjustments I had to make coming to Penn was understanding who people were as human beings, and it being not okay, like to settle for someone's not their best, but just trying to figure out how can I extract the best out of them without them having some of the shared values. There's some non-negotiables, right? I say I could recruit a kid, I can't convince him, right? But even the same thing in somebody's development, it was the same thing when I got to the pros. How do you tap in with guys so that they could be the best versions of themselves? Because the stuff, not baggage, the issue is just who they are as human beings. Having a better understanding of putting the pie together, a lot of times, requires that, I had to relinquish not my core values, and at my core, I was all about people, but just like, is it really? Does it really have to be the way that I'm approaching it? And I think that's what I tried to, make this USA basketball experience about. And I think that's why my former players just like, yeah, had I made that same mistake that Raekwon Gray made, you'd have still be cussing me out. I was like, nah, like I ain't on that anymore. So it was actually gave me a compliment without even realizing it. So.
No, I like that, man, because I asked that question because my experience, I would not have known that if I didn't take the job at Cal Berkeley. I wouldn't have known it because, again, our styles are very similar, and it also it's probably predicated on our upbringings and where we come from, and we play and coach with an edge because we feel like everybody need what we needed. But when I got to Cal Berkeley, I think I grew up as a coach even more, just really learning to understand the balance where you don't have to practice 3 hours. You have to maximize the academic rigors of what they go through to make sure they successful student athletes understand the impact of what an internship is, and not just getting the degree, but having a successful career. Because I think oftentimes as coaches, and I was a part of this as well, so I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. I used to think before I got to Cal Berkeley, and I wanted what was best for the players. But I used to think before I got there, well, they got their degree. Now, if somebody asked me, hey, Coach, can you make a call? I did all that. But then when I got to Cal Berkeley, I understand it has to be more than just getting a degree. You got to help them get a job and have a successful career. Coach, you got to make the call ahead of time. Those sorts of things. And also talented players, but they all don't love it the same. So those are valuable lessons for me, man. I think I grew up a lot, so I really appreciated all those lessons. But the other thing for you, and I think this is powerful. You got into a situation at Penn. Do you mind talking about that?
Yeah, I actually was about to hear you talk about internships. I actually was about to, I didn't want to cut you off, but jump in and say, that was probably one of the reasons why, to this day, I'm a convicted felon, right? Is because I never really wanted to tell, and obviously, I wrote a book and talked all about it, right? But originally, I never really wanted to tell anybody, like, why I did it, right? So it's like, it's power and accountability, right? If you take accountability for something, it's extremely powerful, like, and a mistake. I always tell everybody, right? A failure in character is different from a lack of character, right?
Yes.
I had a failure in character. Yeah, I did it. You know what? I could have said no, and I didn't. And, by helping this family, get in the pen, it changed my life forever, right? Forever. And both for good, and I don't even really like to say a bad way because, God's still using it all, right? It's all for my good. They say not, all things work together for the good of those that love the Lord and call according to his purpose, right? It don't say some things. It don't say the good things, right? It don't say just the bad things. It says all things, right? So I could speak to it about, me getting out of alignment, right? It wasn't my job to just take control over the admissions process, but it was connected to, since we talking and we kicking it, keeping it real, it was connected to an internship, right? I mean, I got countless and countless of phone calls, right? I mean, you got older children, right? You know what that college admissions process is like, right? I got countless and countless of calls from people to try to, like, everybody trying to leverage a relationship or make a connection to try to provide resources to those that they love. Like that's a basic human instinct, right? Who wouldn't try to do that? So with that being said, I'm not saying I entertain everything, but it's like I get a call and say, hey, can you help this student? Like, yeah, the family want to help the program and provide jobs and help y'all raise money. And so, like, I'm going into these households, especially the kids that look a lot like me, and I'm convincing families that they got to, your son's good enough to get a scholarship, but guess what? I can't offer him a scholarship. Y'all got to pay for him to go to school. Make a 40-year decision, not a 4-year decision, right? And again, my mom made $11,000 a year. I had to take out loans to go to Penn. How crazy is that? Like, I had 16 Division I scholarship offers, and I took out 2 loans to go to school, right? Somebody be like, yo, y'all broke. Why would you do that, right? Best decision I ever made in my life. So now I'm coaching at Penn, and I'm talking to these families like, listen, the $8,000 Penn asking you to pay, the $12,000 a year Penn asking you to pay, the $16,000 a year Penn asking you to pay, right, is worth it. You want to know why? Because there's 300,000 alum all over the world, and you name a field, you name an industry, I guarantee you somebody in that field or in that industry that's elite that went to Penn, and I could pick up the phone and call them because men's basketball is the flagship sport at Penn. When we won, and again, I'm going off of my own experience, right? Like when we won games in the tournament and we won Ivy League titles, like I met so many people, right? And guess what? It was done for me. Like I had summer jobs and internships. I worked at the mayor's office and writing and condensing reports. Like Coach Dumpf said, this is the way, right? You got to put your work in the gym, but let me introduce you to this judge right here. If you're thinking about going to law school, maybe you can get, a clerk position in the summertime. And so I'm only mimicking like the leadership style. And again, I'm saying that from, connecting, like not allowing the guys to go through their experience at Penn, being in a basketball bubble, right? Like, no, y'all got to get out on campus, meet, find out what their families are into, or meet this guy, or meet this young lady, or like get to know people on campus, because really, that's really what it's all about, right? It's not just coming here and staying in a bubble, playing basketball, and that's it. No, like exhaust yourself in this experience, right? Now, fast forward, like I'm getting all these calls, help, called up campus, help a particular family, student ultimately get in, so be it. Now, fast forward, it's the next spring. I got a young man on the team that's looking for a job in a certain field, and I'm picking up the phone. Hey, such and such trying to, it's too late. We gave him out. What's his GPA? And I'm like, what? Oh no, we ain't doing that. I wasn't acting like that when y'all was for my help, but again, right? I got out of alignment, right? Like I allowed my disdain for access and privilege, right, to cause me to do something that was going to affect the rest of my life, right? It wasn't, and again, right, it wasn't up to me to take control of that. So now I'm like, man, I ain't helping nobody. If they ain't helping these kids, this program, don't call me. I ain't doing it no more. Because all the kids that I recruited that came from access and privilege, Coach, when they got into school, they used the whole recruiting process. They got into school. The very next year, they quit the team. I can't hold a scholarship over their head.
Wow.
Right? I can't. So now I'm giving up admission slots to young men that I could have gave it to somebody else. I'm like, man, they playing me like that. That's crazy. And we counting on them, and we need them. Whatever they hid behind, they hid behind. So this is when, the North Philly in me, like, it ended up costing me, right? So I was just like, nah, I ain't, yeah, well, you want to help these kids? All right, so be it. And again, right, I drove I think it was a 2008 Honda Fit, and me and my wife lived in the same house since 1998. So it wasn't like, and I didn't know, I didn't turn it down, but it wasn't no set. number or anything like that. Man said he wanted help. I said, you gonna help these kids? And yeah, I'm gonna help it because they don't need it. You know what I'm saying? Why they up like crazy? But every parent, that wasn't for me to say that. Like and again, this is the sins of my own heart, right? Me getting out of alignment, right? Right? My disdain for access and privilege. All of these things came out at the wrong time, and it cost me. And it cost me. Now, like we obviously, I know who I'm talking to, so like we serve an awesome God. It even like I almost committed suicide. You know what I'm saying? So like I almost killed my. You imagine like solid middle class family, right? Everybody like I'm married to a nurturer. You know, my kids was exposed to it. Like my oldest two kids was at Penn when all of this came out. Right? He graduated from Wharton. She graduated from the School of Nursing at Penn. Like, and they on campus and all this has come out. And my other two, they at all of these independent schools. So you know, they all in that same environment. And just like it was hard because initially I was like, I'm a good dude, Lord. I done took kids to Italy. I done had summer job programs and enrichment programs, and you know my heart, you know everything you've blessed me with, I've given to others, and like as if you know my good deeds could remove me from a season of trials and tribulation, right? That we could all like our deeds could kind of like could kind of give us a pass on these things, and that's the level of arrogance I was moving in, and you know what? And ultimately, I'm saying, and I did it. So it's like, oh, I'm tripping. You know what I'm saying? And so the reality of it is, I never thought that he would. And again, while you're in the fire, you think like you forfeited your usage, right? But I always tell people, I mean, David was not only an adulterer, he was a murderer, right? And God still used him, right?
Yes.
Right? He penned the Psalm 73. We all recite it. So I was just praying that he could still use me despite of my failure in character, and what he's proven, that like his word never comes back void, and that he is unbelievable. I can't take any credit for anything because he still placed me in position. I interviewed for 4 head coaching jobs in the NBA after that. I coached NBA games with a location monitor on my ankle. I was on house arrest, right? And I'm sitting on the front row right next to Brad Stevens and pointing. I didn't think the Boston Celtics was going to support me, through it all. They put their arms around me, and none of this, the grace and mercy that I was showed, like I'd be a fraud if I stayed quiet, like about it. So I actually kind of like lead, not so much with the story, but I'm transparent when I talk about it because I know what he did, and I can't say every day, like I believe that I would have survived this, and I think he placed me on this side of the storm, and he still continued. Like I was telling you, right? I'm the head coach of Team USA in the America Cup, right? I had applied for a job with at Mumford, and my record come up, and they told me I couldn't be an assistant on the girls varsity basketball team anymore, and then I couldn't sit on the bench.
And coach, that's Mumford High School in Detroit, Michigan.
Yes, on the west side. Right. And it was like, God is just like, man, you worry about sitting on that bench. I got a whole nother bench for you. And so, again, like I interviewed in Utah, and I interviewed in Boston, I interviewed in Detroit. And these are all for head coaching positions that, I didn't get them, but my failure in character didn't forfeit, right, the opportunity. And I can't take no credit for that. That's why, like, I'm unapologetic when I talk about the God I serve. You know what I'm saying? And this is just one thing we're talking about. And so I ain't want to come on here and and quote unquote start like preaching.
No, preach, man. That's what we do. That's what we do.
Yeah, it's it's been, I mean, he's shown himself in so many ways, and I think my testimony, like, and my transparency, like, is probably the most powerful thing that I got outside of the the woman that I married, you know, and I carry all of those things. Like, yeah, let me tell you a funny story if you got time,
Oh, yeah.
you know, and then I just, and then that's when I just kind of like really, really go into it. And so yeah, it's unfortunate. So many people was affected by it, right? Um, and you know, I always say, you know, don't, like, what you do on, if you don't stay in front of your man and we give up a straight line drive, now you're gonna get out big in trouble, right? Because he got to come over, he might be late because, you know, on the help, and then the opposite wing got to crack down, and then the other guy got to X out off behind the crack down, and you done put us in rotation, right? And so, which we trying to stay out of, and if I had to equate that to my failure in character, I put so much stress on those that I love. It would be the university, my immediate community, my family, my wife, my children. But I am imperfectly perfect, and I just, that's how I try to like coach and lead and serve with a more of a awareness from an empathy and compassion standpoint, and grace, because I've been extended so much. And I will never, as long as God allow me to have breath in my body, I will never lose sight of that. And I think that's kind of really what shapes me as a coach, as a husband, as a mentor, as a father. I'm not perfect, but I'm just grateful.
Coach, you pled guilty. You had to pay back almost 200 some plus $1,000, and then you get a 15-year show cause, which is mind blowing to me. That's with all the stuff that goes on in the inside, that is mind blowing to me. And then you said you're on the brink of suicide. Two-part. Where was your faith at during that time? And also, who was there outside of God? Who was there to lift you up?
Well, so the faith part, right? We all, I mean, we all heard it said before. Oh, God can make a way out of no way, right? God give you the pieces, past all understanding. You know, my grandma used to say it, right? God to make a way out of no way. But we never really want to be in a no way out situation, right? Well, if we're not in that, then he don't have room to operate, right?
Yes.
So I lead with that because, again, I wish I could say to you when I was in the fire that I was like, oh, I'm gonna be good. I'm cool. Like I know he got me. I ain't worried about none of this. I wish I could say to you that I stood on a foundation that was so rock solid. I'm talking about as far as my faith, while I was in the fire, right? That I was unshaken. And I write about it, and I say, I actually wasn't. I was struggling. Like I was struggling because, one, I kept saying, why, Lord, why me? I'm your man, right? Why me? Like I ain't not the mother dude. I know they cheating. I know they doing this. You know me. You know my heart, Lord. Why me? Right? Why? I'm asking why, not because I was seeking knowledge or understanding. I was asking why because I was complaining. You feel me? So because of me complaining, by leading with that why, right, automatically, like now I'm starting to, others, I can't, like he did that, that's going on, and like, So now I'm like, man, there's no way in the world I'm surviving this. There's no way. And again, like I'm talking shackled, hands and feet, walking underground tunnel in the court. You know what I'm saying?
Mm, mm,
Like,
mm.
I'm like, man, I ain't gonna survive. I'd have took the trial and lost. They said 40 years. 40 years. And I wouldn't have been able to live with myself. Like I upset my whole family's sense of normalcy. Threw it all away with one decision. And that's all I kept thinking about. Man, this girl, she don't deserve this. She ain't had nothing to do with this. These kids, damn, like Amon, they ain't had nothing to do with this. How could I do this to somebody that I love? You, you know what I'm saying? And so the guilt that I was carrying for a minute, like overshadowed the faith that I claimed I had. My God, my God. Yeah, we all say that, and then we get in the fire, right? And I'm saying this to say that, so it was days where I was struggling. And it almost cost me, my life. Like as if like because I kept saying, man, I can't live with myself because of this. And again, I'm beating her up because she not putting her arm around me or rubbing my head, right? And again, I'm still at practice with Celtics and passing and smiling and talking trash to Kyrie and me, him, and Terry Rozier breaking down film together post games and playing one-on-one. You know what I mean? I'm still writing all my offensive reports, giving them to Brad. I'm still there sitting right next to him. But inside, I'm going crazy, right? Because when I leave practice or leave the game, like now as I'm driving to the house, now reality setting in. It would seem like I was get bad news every Friday. We was on a plane flying to Charlotte for a preseason game. And on the plane, I'm smiling. By the time the plane landed, every time my lawyer, Ron Sullivan, right, he sent me a text. When I would see his name come up on the screen before I open it, my heart would drop every time. It's like, man, they said they ain't going to knock on your door at 6 a.m. because, the kids at the house, but you got to turn yourself in. You got to get to Florida in 24 hours. And it's like, it was just so much that, again, one, I didn't think that God could still use me, right? And then two, the guilt that I had from the position I put my family in was hard. It was hard, and it was crazy that I kept my head, like I was still smiling, and I seen the stares and people whispering and all that, and I was just trying to, like, man, I'm just trying to get through the day, but I don't know if you a football fan, but one of the parents, a young man I coached, his name was Sean Jones. He played football for the Green Bay Packers, and he was on the '96 team when they won the Super Bowl. I always tell him every chance I get that Reggie White and Brett Favre carried him, right? But he just was like, AMFer, don't hide. No matter what you do, do not hide. Hold your head up. I don't care. Don't hide. And once he started saying that to me, that allowed me to kind of keep my head up. But if you ask me about how was it, like, who did I like lean on? Again, where it says he'll give you the peace that surpass all understanding. One day I just woke up and I was like, and I could tell you the story about the guy at Starbucks, and when I was thinking about killing myself, who told me, hey, look, you're gonna be okay. Just have faith. Just pray. Just pray. You're gonna be okay. Random dude telling me that. He don't know what I got going on. And I had bought him a sandwich or something. And God, if you listen well enough, like he'll speak to you through others. And
Yes.
and after that, like I I was at peace, still worried, but I was at peace with what was potentially about to happen. I was at peace down to the day I got sentenced. Like, that's really kind of like how I have to answer that
Yes.
question. Mm-hmm.
Coach, you started the Hood program, helping our own develop. You spent over $400,000 of your own money taking kids to Italy to play basketball. Now, Coach, $400,000 to take kids to Italy to play basketball. You've done so many wonderful things, Coach. You've coached even after all that took place, you coached with the Boston Celtics. You were assistant coach for 2 years with the Detroit Pistons. Now you're at Mumford High School in Detroit, Michigan, and you were eager to coach the women's team, the girls or women's team, whichever term they use respectfully, to coach that team. And you're giving back. Then also, Coach, one day the kids saw you walking in the rain, taking trash out of the school, walking in the rain. Coach, that is an amazing level of humility. Where do you find that strength outside of God? And I know God is everything, because there had to be sometimes you're like, man, this was it embarrassing? How did that feel for you, Coach?
No, I mean, I took the trash out today, right? Everybody got, it's like a team sport, right? Everybody got a role to play, right? I always say, like, it's dignity in every work, right? I'll give you another example. Yesterday, when I got to work, I went in a cafeteria, and there's two ladies that are responsible for the janitorial duties of the cafeteria, and there's three ladies that do all the cooking and preparing. When I walked in, I had Chick-fil-A. I went and bought them breakfast, right? So I came in, handed out the chicken biscuits to them, and one of the ladies is like, "Well, are you going to take your fruit today? I got 2 apples for you, right?" I'm saying, the only reason why I'm telling you this, not to talk about the things that I do, right? But I know, like, my purpose is, right? I've been placed on this earth to serve. Like, these ladies, imagine just every day having to deal with just kids in general, right? I don't even mean to kind of put them in a category, right? But just the job isn't easy, right? And so me coming in and giving them breakfast, right? Again, remember, they give out the food to the kids, but now they serve the kids. I'm serving them, right? So what I'm saying to you is that I've been a substitute teacher, right? I've been a parent sport coordinator, hall monitor, a lunchroom aide, right? The trash piece to it, it's like, it's 2 older ladies. They got to pull the trash, put it in the dumpster, roll the dumpster outside, then throw it in a bigger dumpster. And it was cold. When I first started doing it, it was like, nah, this is my job. Like, I didn't wait for someone to ask or for someone to tell me what the assignment was. But Mumford has been such a blessing to me, right? It's given me, and again, yeah, I work for the Boston Celtics now, and I'm a pro personnel scouting consultant, and I got the Western Conference and the Central Division, and it's regional. I get to see most of the games as they come in through Detroit. But on the days, even when if I do got to go to the Little Caesars Arena, every morning I get up after I take Roman to school. I'm on the lodge, driving south and getting off at exit 12 to go to Mumford to do whatever it is they need. And I thank God, Principal Pitt, right, has allowed me in the building. And it's just like, it's what he put in front of me in the meantime. And I'm still, that night, I still watch minimum 3 games a night, whether it be Euro League, college, NBA games. It's the whole year. I'm still, oh, damn, I like that ATL. Oh, that motion. Oh, I see they offset. They put the big in the slot. They remind me of, now they're 5 out. It's not just Oh, they playing small pick and rolls. Oh, this misdirection. Oh, it's a need three. This is the situation, special situation. Uh, and I don't know what it's for. Like pages upon pages. It's like I'm still, oh, damn, well, I don't have sports code. I can't download the games and huddle like we used to get from the video staff last year. But I got access to the games, and instead of putting them in sorters, right, on my computer, I'm writing the time of the possessions down and what happened, and I'm doing all these things. And every so often, I would be like, man, I'm doing this for what? Man, I ain't going. I'm probably never going to be a head coach ever again. And I'm getting excited about going to practice with the girls. I'm trying to teach them. You know, Dan Leibovitz worked for John Chaney, and at Penn, he showed me their 1-1-3 like rover, and I'm and practices with the girls like, no, you gotta stunt with your inside hand and block at the corner, and that, you know, doing all of these things and talking to them about getting matched up in transition and no backcourt stabs and sharing the ball and second side, and you know, I'm doing all of these things, and 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 every so often I would have a day where I would say, I'm doing all this for what? I guess, you know, maybe I'm about to pivot to the front office. Maybe this is, you know, Brad Stevens gave me this opportunity. I'm gonna be in the front office now. Maybe I'm done with coaching, or maybe my wife had a healthcare company, and it's like, all right, maybe that's the pivot, right? You know what? All of these things are going on, and 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 then the day they was like, no, you can't sit on the bench no more, right? Matter of fact, you can't coach the girls no more. And I'm like, and I'm getting upset, like, and like I said to you, it's like, guys, like, man, you tripping about that? I got a whole nother bench for you. And then Sean Ford calling, it's like, you got this recommendation of being on Dave Yeager's staff for the America's Cup, and all these things, you know, happen at Milwaukee, and it's like, well, you moving from being an assistant to now the head coach, and I'm like, damn, this is crazy. Had my attitude been like, if I'd allowed the rejection and the dejection to like consume my body, I wouldn't have been ready to help push this brand that we love, you know, forward. And then he just kept talking about how impressed he was, how prepared I was, how these things. And again, I'm saying these things to you in real time, like, you know, I go from, I was an offense coordinator, defense coordinator, 6 years on the ball with Brad Stevens. I'm right next to Case, you know, Mark, you know, telling the guys, no, we're not going to trap Luka Doncic till the fourth quarter, and then we're going to switch it, then we're going to hit it. Like, I'm doing all these things to just like, nah, go sit down, go to Mumford, you know, try to break up fights, right? Sprain your thumb, you got to tackle a kid, right? Be disrespected, try to help with Spanish and a history assignment, introduce some students to the Robinhood app and talk about stocks, and go to Little Caesars Arena at night and use your contacts and watch games and evaluate skills, and then type up reports and send it to Boston, and do all of these things, and you're gonna get it on the floor with USA Basketball, and oh wait, you're gonna get a chance to lead USA Basketball, and you know all the jobs that you was rejected from. This is gonna be proof to you that you really are who you think you are from a coaching standpoint, because you're about, you know, teaching them how to play, not showing them the plays, and really emphasizing the interdependency of all five guys on every possession, and be funny and be yourself, but be demanding and be pure and be disciplined, right? But give them freedom, and all of these things that I learned under Brad Stevens and Dwayne Casey, and morph into my own experience to be Pooh Allen, right? Just go be yourself. And then when it's over with, come back home and get ready to take the rest of the trash out, after
space
the third
office will
hour
host
and the fourth
couple
hour
lessons
and the
for
fifth hour,
any staff
right?
or
And
student
make
that
sure
is interested
that
from
all the
3:30
trash
to
is
5
empty
o'clock.
for
The
Miss
class is
King and Miss Ann,
completely
and
free
then
and
go
all
back in the
students who
hallway and make sure they
attend
go into class,
and
right?
remain
And
during
you're
the
gonna have some
duration
students that
of the
come in
class
that need help,
will
right,
receive a
with their writing
$25 gift
assignment.
card.
And make sure you're not
Again,
late to pick
free
Roman
hustle
up
lessons,
from school,
staff and students,
right? Because he
meaning
got
students
AAU
who
practice
attend
tonight,
will
and
earn
you
the
know Aida gonna
$25
tell
gift
you his
card.
homework got to be done
In the media
before you take him
center,
to practice,
after
and
school,
sit on the floor
hope to see
and
you there.
complain about the AAU coach and what he not teaching your son underneath your breath, right? And go home, take a shower before you get in that bed, get on your knees, sit and with God, right? Before you start leading with your requests, right? Just be in his presence for a couple seconds, right? Then close your day out, get in the bed, go to sleep. And if you're fortunate enough to wake up the next morning, thank him first, and then make it about what it's supposed to be about.
Amen. I can just say, amen. We just we just got a ministry. This has been a wonderful day at All Counts family. A phenomenal man, Coach Jerome Pooh Allen. We got a lot of life lessons, a lot of profound nuggets and information, uplifting, encouraging. Again, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. And in all your ways, continue to acknowledge him, even on your bad days. It All Counts family. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Take care.